Yeah. Would you say it's correct to say that they they deconstruct and in using those tools or benefiting from those tools, it's beneficial. The problem is, one of the problems is once they deconstruct something, lots of people without realize they construct something from their own
Yes.
paradigm.
Or they're left with nothing, and that's the purposelessness and the aimlessness of sort of the cultural aspects. Exactly. So you think about it like this: modernism is a disease, and postmodernism is a poison that kills the disease, right? But it's poison, and so it's not going to make you healthy, right? So like postmodernism is really useful for deconstructing and taking the wind out of the sails and dismantling modernism, right? So it's not useless. It's not useless, but it also isn't constructive. It doesn't leave you with anything. And so if you don't have an Islamic paradigm or an Islamic worldview to be able to construct after that or to displace it with that, then you're left with nothing.
What if someone says you don't need postmodernism? We've got other things that kill the disease.
Like what? What else has?
Islam.
I mean, it hasn't. Well, okay. I mean, it can, but I mean, like, you have to be able to understand what modernism is and what are its values and how to respond back. I mean, we live in.
The problem is not knowing what modernism and postmodernism is.
Yeah.
So can you explain?
Yeah, sure. So modernism, is in a nutshell, you think of it as the Enlightenment. Like the Enlightenment embodies modernism in the sense that and there's subcurrents, and okay, the map is always more simpler than the terrain. There's countercurrents and subcurrents or whatever, but the main thrust of modernity is that we can come to objective knowledge, dispassionate knowledge about everything. We can construct a universal justice, through a universal culture based off of universal reason. And so that was responsible for obviously the big push to colonialism and sort of like not valuing other people's systems of reason and traditions of reason and things like that. And there's lots of sort of either aesthetic or epistemological sort of decisions and valuations that were made, right? The written word over the spoken word, oral tradition is seen as something unreliable, right? Religion is seen as something that's superstitious and taboo, right? Versus sort of the cold, objective knowledge of the West, right? So that's modernism in a nutshell. And what happened was that basically the postmodern movement is a response to that movement and basically saying, hold up, your supposedly universal values and knowledge and judgments are actually particular. They are not universal. They don't apply to everybody. They're particular to Europe, maybe even particular to white Europe or to male Europe. Of course, that's where we get feminism and stuff like this. And we're not endorsing it, but we're saying that's the idea, is that it's responding to this let's call it a false universalism, because we believe that Islam is universal and the universalism. But modernism is kind of the false universalism that postmodernism is responding to. And in order to respond to it, postmodernism's move is basically like, there is no universalism. There is nothing that's universal. Truth is just, it's malleable, it's plastic, it's liquid or whatever. And so your judgments and your values are not any more valuable than mine. They're historically determined, right? That's where we get over-historicism, where now everything's a product of history. Everything is a product of your privilege, your positionality, your subjectivity, these sorts of things. So that's really an effective tool to shutting up a modernist, to saying it's like, okay, you think that Western science is like the end-all be-all. No, actually, no. It's very particular. It's got assumptions, it's got values, it's got an epistemology, it's got a cosmology, it's got an idea of anthropology. What is the human being? So those are postmodern critiques of modernism, but they don't build anything. So that's the thing. So you can use it as a knife, as a bomb, to blow up, to destroy, to dismantle, but then you have to have something else.